You hear me?
Yo, what up? Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, nice. Nothing much, man. Just reading.
What you reading right now?
The Latin Vulgate. It's the Bible in Latin.
What?
Yeah, I figured like I wanted to read something I've already read before, so I can like kind of know what I'm reading at the same. I mean, it's translated in English, but like I don't want to always kind of look back over every time.
Yeah, you don't want to get lost in the translations.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, I'm bugging right now just off that one dude. What's that British dude's channel? You know what I'm talking about?
British
He's not
dude.
he's not British, but he's definitely had that. He's like, he's talking about time and the scriptures. You post some of his videos on his on your channel like this last week.
Oh yeah, that dude. Yeah, that dude. Yeah. Yeah, man. I like the one about the ecliptic of this. You know what I mean? With the sun.
The sun people. The sun what?
The simulation reset part 2. I feel like is better than part 1. I just couldn't just put up part 1 myself. I mean, I couldn't put up part 2 without putting up part 1. I mean,
yeah, you gotta do it. Just, but it's cool. You're just looking at the Bible because I'm just tripping, like, because I have no reference experience with the scriptures, like specific scriptures, stuff like that, and until I kind of like get to that point of like looking at it, I don't know where I'm at from his perspective.
Yeah. No, he definitely did his due diligence. His channel's pretty solid. I mean, he don't come out with that many videos, so it's kind of nice. You know what I mean? It's not like just a bombardment of videos that kind of take away from each other, like because he ain't been doing it that long. Like I've seen the one dude, Divergent. The dude's name is Divergent. He got some cool, videos about the mud flood, but he just pumps so many videos out that it's like they take away from each other.
Yeah.
They go to the channel, they don't even know. Like, there's some gems up in here, man. They're just like 10 videos back.
Fuck. Yeah, that is what it is. That's one thing I wanted to talk about though. Is just like adjusting to the mud flood situation, like because I'm going from those videos or just going from that information and then looking at I'm in downtown LA. Is everything just looks like a fabrication of some sort, like this having to do with this.
Yeah, it looked like a motherboard or something. Some cities look like motherboards. You know what I mean? You ever look at a motherboard? They got buses on them and everything too.
Yeah, like what, like computers.
Yeah, it's like a motherboard on top of the organic motherboard.
I just got another word too for the intelligence. Like if it was like there's artificial intelligence, and then another word would be authentic intelligence. Like it would be like contrasted with
actual intelligence. Yeah. That's where it's at, man. I mean, it's kind of like the first relationship, or like the only relationship, I guess, in a sense, like the relationship with intelligence and intelligence, I guess you could say.
Well, that's wild too, because seeing like that level of intelligence making like the authentic intelligence simulating a reality that you can't replicate that type of simulation, and then you got broken people waking up in that reality getting jealous of the authentic intelligence, and then this whole inferiority complex takes over, and that's how you get like a bunch of like the fake matrix, but people really trying to go hard and making the fake simulation instead of the authentic simulation, and then get people to take part in the fake one.
It's crazy, man. You know, like it's like I guess if you're really broke physically and physically to where your body needs this assistance, then you strive to create or get someone to create all the assistance, all the artificial intelligence, all the artificial support. And then I guess if you're just financially broke, really knew nothing like but poverty, then you probably see people in cars with nice shoes and stuff, and they're just like, "Oh, I want that," instead of just like wanting to be barefoot somewhere. And so it's crazy how they get people like that. You know? It's like everything's a trap in a lot of ways. Like so many things are a trap.
The honeypot traps.
Yeah, you know, you just come out of poverty, you're just like, I want more, I want more.
And then you just deeper in it.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, my brother used to always say that. He'd be like, man, motherfuckers don't want to be white, they just want what white people got. And I'd be like, they shouldn't want that either. You know what I'm saying? A lot of respects, you know what I mean? They shouldn't want those things for the most part, you know what I mean? You know, he's speaking in generalization, but you know, you get what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
objects, you know what I mean? Like that. Like, it's crazy where we at. Like, I wonder how you would do it, man. You know, I wonder like if you was like if you're the first person that invented like a saxophone and you wanted somebody to hear this shit, you'd be like, look, I'm about to go up in these dreams and fuck people up, or would it just be like telepathy? And then since you're just so present, you just send the music to everybody else that's within reach in your feed
through the device.
Yeah, like just from being, because your body's just the device. You know what I mean? Like you just sitting there, like being present, playing the saxophone, and you're like, everybody need to hear this shit. I'm about to play this shit loud as fuck, because like it's really like the collective in a lot of ways. Like I guess the more that your body is present, the more that you can communicate with the collective. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like how a lot of synchronicity stuff happens, is like, you know, when you hear something on the radio or something and then you see it on a billboard or somebody says the same word all at the same time. It was like, man, somebody in the collective was focusing on this right here, this one thing right here. And so we all got a taste of it. And I guess like if you was to be really present with some shit like that, it would be like Inception, like when the dreams was in it and they put the music on and that shit would just play over the whole music, like over a loudspeaker, like kind of like
through all the dreams.
Yeah, kind of like in Revelations, like when they say the trumpets will sound and everything. I wonder if that's like, you know, the creator, the presence, the collective presence is like, all right, time to wake motherfuckers up, put the song on.
Yeah, alarm clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. It's like something about, you know, if it was Beethoven or somebody, whoever, like we'll take Beethoven for example. How it went, it seems like he would hear the whole thing, like a whole composition, before he wrote a single note.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's when you ask the question, you already know the answer because the question has arrived.
And and it's just hard. It's just being in tune with the harmonic intelligence that's like present throughout time, but then get into that level of like being in contact or being in touch with that resonance or that harmony. You know, you're gonna get like a whole inside of like a whole orchestra or like a whole what would you call it? Like a whole I'll say like composition, for lack of a better term. But you literally just hear it all before a single note's written, and then you're channeling that information. And it's crazy too how if it was Beethoven, like the example, like how it literally raises intelligence just to listen.
It's like Cloud Atlas, man. Like in Cloud Atlas, the composer, he was like, I had this dream of a melody, man. You know what I mean? He kept waking up from his dreams and you know, forgetting the melody or remembering the melody and putting the shit together. And it's like, and he didn't even realize like the dreams he was having, he was like in a fast food restaurant like 1,000 years prior in a dream, and it was just playing in the background of the fast food restaurant. He was like, man, I had this dream that everybody was looking the same or whatever, and this music was playing, and that's where he thought like it came to him. So I wonder like if it's like you just jacking shit from the universe or whatever, or like if your true self really be putting these things together, or if it's like something that you created before and then like you're remembering it. Or what, man? Sometimes, because I feel like it's like a bunch of different ways that happens, like that process of like some shit just occurring to you.
It seems like if everybody was like a miniature god, like whatever creative activities that anybody gets into, you're kind of like taking part in like the overall creation. I don't know if a baby god could create what the authentic god, does, but just like any act of creativity, I feel like it gets to the point of like kind of the collective situation, and it's something like every day or any moment you're like reenacting life.
Yeah, like it's just got to come through some type of filter, you know what I mean? Because if it was just like, sucks, I got to keep tapping into movie references, but in the movie Dogma, that like Metatron, Metatron speaks for in the Bible or whatever. Metatron is like the voice of God. You know what I mean? He documents everything God be saying because he's the only one that can hear God. Because if you was to hear God, like you would not be able to take it. Like you would explode. Like so, like it's so much. You know what I mean? It's probably such a deep silence. You know what I mean? That like the voice of God or whatever. It's probably so much to a person that like it just gotta come out through these filters, through these vessels, because there's no way to get it all to come out of one vessel really. Like, and then if it does, it would be like Jesus Christ shit, yeah, then everything kind of got to get destroyed. There's just so much, just so much coming out of one being that it's like deafening. And yeah, I think that's like, I don't think that if it was happening, I think it would kind of be the end, or or maybe the beginning. But I don't think it'd be, yeah, because it's just so much. So you think about like pure light, you kind of can't. It's just blinding or whatever, or you kind of like need it to be like filtered through, or like pure oil, which is kind of like blood or light in a sense. It's like you can't do nothing really. You got to like kind of break it, you got to refine it and bring it down, like to be able to like utilize it in like in the imperfect world in a sense, like in a circumstance where everything is where it's supposed to be perfect, like you just really observing, man. And, like everybody's just harmonizing and observing, and like I wonder what you would even create or why you would even create. Like what would you like? Because like innovation is like comes out of lack typically. So like why the fuck would you even create certain things? I mean, some innovation is gonna, I guess you're gonna just try to amplify what's already going on. But I don't know, man. I really don't. I guess you just, that's it. You just try to crystallize what's already happening. But it just seems like everything you would create, it just be modeled after the body. I guess you could do it. I guess you could. I seen a meme and it was like, is this thing you can lay down in and it like amplifies, like you're in the woods, it like amplifies the forest sounds. And I'm just like, yeah, that's cool and all, but it's like, this is so extra. Why don't you just like fast and be in the silence, and then it'll just be really loud to you. But
yeah,
you know what I mean? So I always wonder, like, why in a perfect state or a harmonious state, like, what are you even really inventing at that point? Like, what do you need to invent? Like, what are you compelled to even do besides like observe? Because it just seems like creation just would like happen of itself, and you're just like observing it. It's just an alignment. It's not like you're trying, like,
Yeah, I mean that seems like it's it. There's like a drama that you could get involved with somehow, or like people like actors in some sort of like drama program could have some sort of like obstacle that they need an invention for, but other than that, you're not really like playing or like in the play where there's no need to solve anything because there's no antagonist or like there's no problem.
It's like you're teaching, like you have children, like I guess because most invention, I guess, is to like teach the children things. But if they know themselves, you're just pretty much just like staying out of the way. Like it's like kind of thing, same thing with ideas. I feel like you don't go really looking for them. They like you just kind of get out of the way of them because they're just like happening. Like, oh, that's a good idea. Why why didn't I think of that? Oh, it's because I was thinking instead of just observing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's from the thinking is just like it's like what is it? It's like retarding the consciousness just to think.
yeah, it's like mad draining. I guess it's just like when your door's open and the light is on in the door, and, or the beep goes off because the key's still in the ignition. Like it's kind of like that. It's like just in case. I guess it's just for forgetting. Like it's like a signal. Like yo, you've forgotten. So that your thinking is what's happening to you now because you've forgotten. And I guess
Well, that whole process of forgetting and going to amnesia and then starting the same thing over again is like crazy. That's a crazy idea to me that I feel like I'm in right now. Like it's just that forgetting. It's just if you can get the person to forget what happened, that's like the oblivion.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Farrell were supposed to be doing podcasts again, and he was we was talking the other day, and he was saying like the remnant, like the core of like just remembering. He was like it's in threat of being wiped out this time. I don't know if it's true, but he was just saying like shit. It's just like it's in danger of getting totally wiped out. Like motherfuckers getting totally blanked, to where we got to totally start from scratch instead of there being like some type of remnant. Because I guess like every time the loop loops, there's some type of remnant that holds it down, or like some part of people. I always feel like if the shit loops around, then some children are gonna like remember to realize themselves and be born themselves, and then there's gonna be some children that are like that the parasite is like it's kind of like just a nest for the parasite that like it knows like all right, I know what I'm doing, I know the process here, I know what I'm doing with this body that's just like an empty sack of shit that I'm just pushing around. And that I think it kind of I guess that's like the typical reset is that it goes back to that point to where, probably everybody gets wiped out. That isn't like in the Bible, it says like, if you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must be like a little babe or whatever. And it's like to be karmically in the state of like a fucking infant, like everybody, everybody else would probably just get wiped. And I'm talking to Farrell about this. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you mean like instant death for people? He was like, some people, but he was like, but mainly just a total wiping, like a Babel Tower shit. Like you motherfuckers just don't remember, like total amnesia. But like if you're a child, like you kind of already don't know yourself, like in the sense of like you're just being yourself. You don't know anything, and there's no obstruction with like knowing. And you're just like in the moment. So, when the wiping happens, you're just like, what's up? It's just regular for you, I guess. And we was talking about Babel Tower, and he was just saying like how it's a portal. Like it was a portal. He was like, you got people looking at it like it's a structure, but it was like, it's like a cell phone tower. And he was like, the tower, it's kind of like, he was saying about CERN too. He was like, CERN, they never built CERN. CERN, they found CERN. CERN was just buried under mud. They found CERN, and he was saying like that. He was saying like this shit is all just like trying to open the portals, and that's all Babel was them trying to open portals so that they can get access into you know, lower level trying to make their way up to the higher level. And that's and like Babel Tower. Like, say if we had like total service from this tower, maybe everybody was depending on the tower. I don't know. We didn't get into it too deeply, but like maybe everybody was getting service from the tower. Like it was, you know, spreading the signal in life. You know that knowledge of self signal was being spread, and everybody was relying on it maybe, and then maybe then the tower gets destroyed, and everybody loses knowledge of self. Everybody gets wiped. I don't know. I guess it's about when we do live, but yeah.
It fits in with what I've been looking at, like with, because I mean the idea of instant communication across like really far distances beyond, like it'd be, instead of like a terrestrial distances, it'd be like celestial distances, like different stars and stuff like that. Like to those types of gates or portals of information are what maybe a lot of the major wars in the scriptures were about. If it was like the Ark of the Covenant or some shit.
Yeah, man. I mean, like I look up here and I see this the top of the mountain, the top of the hill up here, and I'm looking at all the right angles and the perfect circles that are in the stone, and I'm like, man, this is a melted structure. You know, like this is totally a melted structure, and I feel like that means it probably was some sort of plasma weaponry, and so in that circumstance, you probably did have like, if you can just transmit plasma like that, then I don't see why you couldn't just transmit beings or bodies, and like there's this building in towers in India. And the ceiling is ridiculous, man. Like the whole building is ridiculous. They said it took like 100 years to make it, but the whole, like the different shapes in the ceiling, like, and then it's like this area where it just looks straight up portal. You would just stand there, and then something would come in. So I don't know if Babel was just like a signal that got taken over, and then shit just started coming down the pipeline. Or was it just something that people got just dependent on? Because supposedly it was made by.
Made by what?
It's Babylonian. It's Sidon. Sidon is one of Canaan's sons. Canaan is one of the sons of Ham. Ham's one of the sons of Noah. And so, like, they say Sidon. That's where, like, that's where I'm getting like, Sedona is Sidon. Like Sidana, and like I just wonder, like, if he was the one, or if those is the people that built it, then it probably a dependency thing, because that's like kind of the moral of the story. Got really vain, and they thought that they could reach heaven mechanically. God destroyed the tower, and then brought then I guess a flood. I think a flood happened after it, but biblically, I think the flood happened prior to Babel. But yeah, man, it's I think the floods are really routine. So I don't know if it's the floods causing the mud flood, or if it's just like liquefaction. Like where the earthquakes happen, and then like the ground starts to boil and bubble and really liquefy, and people just get covered in this shit, and then they just become petrified. And that's like what Pompeii is. That's like all them statues that are just like immaculate and all that stuff.
And it could have been like 200 years ago, but they would say in the history it happened like 2,000 years ago, like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah. I don't think it was any more than 500-600 years ago, at the most. You know what I mean? I think there's a bunch of little resets, and then I feel like the mechanical opportunities for resets too, like where you had all in destruction of the building from the 1860s to 1910. I mean, they basically wiped out all the major cities in America, like with the fires. You know, Chicago, San Francisco, Baltimore. They all got fires and floods and earthquakes just wiped them cities out. And they were using dynamite. The fire started in all these cities. The same shit happened. The fire started, and then people used dynamite. They said that we were trying to blow up these buildings so that the fire wouldn't spread past these certain blocks. Like they said, all right, if we cut the fire off and blow these buildings up before it gets there, then it won't take the whole city. That don't make no fucking sense, man.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
So it's not like trees. So they blew up the whole city, man. Or a lot of the old buildings. You know, you look at them old pictures of San Francisco, man. It looks fucking crazy. Like they just wipe. It looks like completely wiped. Like and even New York, you know, all that rubble and stuff that was there in the Bronx and stuff. I don't really know, man, exactly how it went down, but I feel like it's documented that they dynamited a lot of those buildings, and
It's like, why?
it's just like they must have had some resonance still, or maybe they just was the type of buildings that would expose the lie too much.
They expose the story, the truth. Like,
yeah, so because like I guess whatever they left is like, okay, people can replicate this stuff that's left, so we can recreate replicas to throw off the history, and people would think that it's possible to make these things because you can just reverse engineer the stuff, and that's what I feel like a lot of the stuff in life is just reverse engineering, either reverse engineering or souls that got trapped here and they just like mapped them. Parasites just mapped the soul out. Like, all right, when this person is, they're stuck in the loop, so we'll just wait till they come back, and then once they come back, we'll just like blackmail them into teaching us how to make these things or to operate these things.
Spiritual extortion.
Yeah, I think it's one of the two.
That's crazy. It's just that concept alone, I feel like it's just crazy as fuck. Like you really, like I can imagine how over or carried away with rewriting people's memories that you can get. Like if you're on like the oppressor side, because it's like, man, you really can, like, this shit happened like 200 years ago, and you can fill in like the past like million years for these people, and they're gonna believe it.
Yeah, because it's just all wipes.
And it wasn't even, and none of that never happened. None of it happened. But it's just the mind, like the human mind, just has to like go with whatever it's given.
Yeah, like they say, a lie can travel around the world before the truth puts its pants on, and you know, I guess that's like the nature of the situation where like the lie spreads so crazy, and then by the time the truth comes around, people are so invested in the lie that they don't even want to acknowledge it. But like the Bible says, like the devil knows his time is short. So I think that's why everything operates so fast, and it's just like trying to get people to stay hurried and rushed and in the
haste.
Yeah, so they stay in that state. They stay in the line. I mean, like, and it keeps supporting.
What was that? I'm gonna pull up what you said. Yeah, haste makes waste. Wastefulness is not the likeness of the Creator, thus being wasteful blocks your alignment with the Creator. Being hasteful or being in a rush, being in a hurried state, like blocks your alignment with the Creator.
Yeah, you know, it just boils down to not really realizing what's for you and what's, you know, just what's not for you. It might not be, you might not know who it's for, but that shit just not for you. And I think, yeah, people, when you know, like, okay, this is what's for me, this is what's on the path, I'm aware of this. This is a simulation, and I'm gonna reach this point where I meet myself fully, and then I meet these things on the way, these events on the way, and I know what's for me and what's not for me. I feel like that's kind of gonna keep you from rushing, because then you're just, why would you try to rush? Like if you knew like, all right, I'm gonna get married at 35 and have a kid at 42 or something like that. Then like it's like no point in rushing. You're like, all right, that's already slated. Let me just do everything I can do between now and then to where, I'm ready. You wouldn't just be like, all right, let me try to go get somebody pregnant now. Like, but if you don't know yourself enough to like feel it in your body and kind of know like when the flower is blooming, then you're just going to try and force the flower to bloom and then it just damage it. Yo, I can't hear you, man.
What about now? What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right. So order in the bedroom then. What's that? What's about that? What's up with that?
I'm just talking about basically how young men should take care of themselves, man. Like you really should not even be focused on women until you get certain ducks in a row, and just the process of like engaging with women and if you were to procreate, how you want to raise your children and just order in general. Order in the household. Just more so that, man, like how things should go, and just not doing things out of order, man, because you can't have no contentment when things are out of order. Like,
why would you do anything out of order other than you were just in a rush in the first place?
Yeah, it's got to be like that. You just have to just not know yourself to get caught up in that because I feel like if you have a child early, then everything kind of unfolds in like a retarded backwards way. Like, how they say that you got that universe that goes backwards in time. I feel like that's what kind of happens. Like, yeah, like if you plant the seed, like it's kind of like if a flower lived backwards, like if it was, like it's dropping seeds before it's blooming. So it's like it's not even reaching full bloom before like pollinating. So I feel like it just makes it fucks with all the course of all the events. Like you're still gonna get the same events. It's just like movie or starting a movie, and you got all these other movies on, and it's like you're not gonna be able to pay attention to all of them. And the movie, once it started, and once you get to the climax, it climax, and once it ends, it ends. So it's like you got all these movies playing at one time instead of just like watching this movie, complete this movie, go to the next movie. It's you got several movies on at once, and so yeah, I just feel like there's no way your attention can really focus and fully be present for any of them. And it's easy to get lost in the sauce like that. And then the child is like, that's the example for the child. So it's like once you start that cycle, it's like maybe you can run into a child that's like, I don't want to be like this, but I feel like it's a crazy thing, man. Like I feel like some of the kids that fight being their parents the most end up being their parents. So it's like
yeah.
So it's like you just want to leave a good example so they don't feel like no way about it, so that like they can accept like, yeah, we're not separate. It is what it is.
In a non-perverted way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. I could. Yeah, that's crazy though. It's just when things they're not in order, like with the whole process of like life itself. Like the consequences are. It's crazy to see like in real time. Like if you cross paths with somebody who's like they seated the bitch up like years ago, and they're just going through it now. People are just going through it. It's just wild seeing it.
It's like playing a movie from the back. It's like starting another movie. Like you got your movie going on. You ain't even finished your movie being the superstar in your own movie. Mm-hmm. And then you just start another movie. It's like playing the movie kind of from the ending.
That's crazy.
In the beginning. So you're watching the movie backwards in a sense. Like you already climaxed mad early. Like you should be like climaxing in life in all ways, and then you just climax physically, have a child. But
around 42.
I mean, I don't know about 40. I mean, I know it'll be different. it'll be different for different folks. You know what I mean? Some people,
Yeah.
their testosterone and stuff might peak out at 32 or something. I don't know. You know, so depending on what you're taking care of yourself, genetics and all that, everybody's kind of on different clocks. But yeah, you definitely want to at least be 29. Like it's a bare minimum 29. It don't really. Imagine if you held your seed until you was 29, just because you was raised by people that was like, yo, man, this is what value is. If you're just trading something super valuable like seed for like fleeting pleasure, attention, money, or a roof over your head temporarily, stuff like that is like what people trade their seeds for, and it's just not worth it at all. Like, you know, so if you was taught like true value early on, then yeah, again, it's just order. You trade the valuable things for valuable things. You're not trading valuable things for nothing. And then, you know, you got to live a life like that. Like it's it's like it's like if you was raised that way to acknowledge what the truth was of value, and then 29 years you just becoming as attractive as possible instead of just dispensing energy casually.
The entropy decay happens right there.
Yeah, and that's, you know what I mean? Decadence means decay. And like, you know what I mean? Like casual means fall. Casual means accident. So like it just like
Casual.
Yeah, casual sex is traumatic sex. It's accidental. It's like an accident. Like if you say like that's the root of
that makes sense.
Casual. Yeah. Like, you know, casual, like the core of it is like cassis or case. And that's why people say like, oh, it fell on a leap day, or it fell on a Tuesday, or it fell like if you know, when things fall, like it's not like, you know, that's haphazardness basically. Like it's not something that you plan for. It's falling. You know what I mean? It's accidental.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
So it's it's crazy, man. I feel like so much of it is just the way you communicate with yourself, and like the etymology. So your parents are using different words with you, and abstaining from words that are destructive, or just use them appropriately, and just become super attractive by 29. Like imagine like how people would be radiating if all the men just waited till at least 29, and then the women, they would have to act a totally different way. They couldn't behave the way that they act.
Yeah.
Women are so snide right now because dudes they're not taking care of themselves. So they feel like, you know, that they can be men better than men at this point. So it's no order. So, you know, and now it's promoted. The disorder is promoted. So now people think that the success of a man is the same as the success for a woman. So, you know, there's no order, and all the broads are miserable, and the dudes are miserable. They just don't. Some of them just don't know it. They do know. Everybody knows though.
But it's the
You know what I mean?
oblivion. It's in this forgetfulness. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. The body. Yeah, it's really like the body is just driving. It's just being driven. It's just going. It's just on. They're not really alive. It's just on. You know, it's like you turn the game on, you turn the video game on, but you're just not there, and it's just on. But it don't mean that shit is alive.
Getting hijacked.
Yeah, that's where it's at, man. It's a crazy collective hijacking at this point. For it to be going down like that, like, and people, it's just so many obstacles that, like, I guess if you did get to that point where you realize yourself, I don't even know like how you would operate from that point. I mean, I know you would want to help people, you want to leave like a breadcrumb trail and everything, but it's probably like, man, you probably start drowning trying to help a lot of people. It's like, you know, people got their hand out, they tell you they want you to help them, but then you grab their hand and they're drowning, and they're like, no, I don't want to be helped this way though, and then you just drown with them. And so like, it's just funny. It's funny, man. I don't know. I just don't know how at this point you can really help people. Huh?
That's probably why there's no intervention, like from other intelligent forms who have the means.
Yeah, because then they just go down, and then whatever that parasite takes them, their little place of heaven over or whatever, and then now it's even worse for the collective.
It really, like, how everyone felt about the internet in the world. What the internet did for the world is what another Tower of Babel or something like that, a device like that, would be for the galaxy, or like this, you know what I mean? Like, if we're getting into more communication.
Yeah, so crazy, man. Like, the crutches of things, man. Like I don't know. Sometimes when I have dreams and I have dreams of like being a father and stuff like that, I'll be always wondering, like, man, am I gonna usher the child in here? Am I gonna merge timelines, or am I just gonna say like, well, fuck it, this body, I'm just gonna learn as much as I can with it, so that I could just collapse it and go into that place and have that experience there, because it's like why would I don't know, like the whole basis of communication is like corrupted, and it just creates so much atrophy that I'd be like, man, are, like as far as like communicating with people, it's like committing to discommunication. It's like I'm already talking in English to you. I'm already talking to you through this medium. It's so much that's kind of a bunch of no-nos. Like I know, like if I'm connecting with you unconsciously, it probably we've met in a dream, and then and for whatever reason, we're both uh, established in our dreams enough to where we could just be satisfied with that which is like more so real.
Because the consciousness is making it real, just in that observance.
Yeah, it's like it's just like the way I feel like everybody's kind of lost in the conceptual thing, like to where they just, I was talking to this chick about it the other day. I was like, man, like I really feel like polygamy, the idea of polygamy is worse in your mind than the reality. If you choose actually to go into it. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing with dreams, is where it's like the dream is so great and so real that people will just give it up though, because yes, I guess it's more vulnerability, or it feels like more vulnerability. It's probably less vulnerability, but people give that up because they want this like idea of control, and like I feel like people just treat themselves like pets. So they're like, no, I don't even want to think of, like, if you had a dream about doing something that might like not sit well with your idea of yourself here, then you're just gonna block the dreams out, or not even know that that's what you're doing. Like people blocking their dreams out, but they don't know like they're doing that so that they can maintain being ignorant. Like
As an idea, as a conceptualized illusion of control.
yeah, like I talked to my brother about it once. I was like, "Yo, man," I was talking about dreams. He was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, I drink so that I don't dream, man, because every time I dream, this shit come true, yo, and I don't even want to know. And I just be like, what kind of sense does that make, yo? Like, like it's crazy to me,
Backwards
yo.
thing.
But yeah, like it's like it makes sense where things don't make sense, I guess. And yeah, it's just I just know a lot. He's conceptually understanding it. Like, yeah, I don't really want to know. I kind of don't want that power, the level of power. And I just be like, man, how many people like really think that that's what they want to do? Like with that, so many behaviors block your dreams. So like, how many people out here like they don't realize like, yo, what you're doing right now is to block your dreams. You think you're doing it because you like it or whatever, but you are specifically doing it to block dreams, like whatever it is.
Mm. Yes, that absence of information, like that gap between the illusory sense of control and the dreams. Like if they're blocking out the dreams, like in between that gap, like what's there other than fear?
Yeah, and then the language used to describe things and to communicate with yourself, to describe what's happening, like is just poor language typically, to where people can't. There's kind of no way for them to say like, and they don't know the language of pain. They don't really know their body. They don't know where the pain is stemming from.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know that, like if I'm sad, the pain's in my lungs. If I'm angriest in my liver, if I'm, it's all just fear. Pain is just fear, like you said. Like it's all of it is just, to be afraid is to be in pain,
Different
and
gradient of fear.
yeah, and the more the fear grows, the more dense the pain. Like it's really, I really can't separate fear and pain in a lot of ways. Like, so if you don't really know your body, you don't know, like, oh, I'm feeling it because this pain or fear is somewhere in my system and where it's coming from, then there's no way for you to communicate to yourself like, oh, I'm experiencing this because of this, so that means I have to stop doing this and start doing this or whatever. Like it's not even occurring to them. Like they're not even giving themselves the opportunity to, because it doesn't line up with their projection of what should be happening. People be like, man, I don't have time to focus on my dreams, write my dreams down, and then see what I feel and really go from one period of the day to the next in a conscious way. They're like, I don't have time for that. All of that seems vulnerable, and it kind of interferes with their agenda for their idea of themselves.
And the
yeah.
conceptualized world.
And then the parasite knows, like, oh, this is how you operate. Oh, I'm gonna just amplify this, because it's not like they can create anything. It's just like they just recreate shit. They just make you recall memories. They just like press those triggers and buttons. Like if you had ice cream as a kid for a reward, or you never see your uncle or something, and you see your uncle and you have ice cream together. Now all the parasite got to do is make you look at some ice cream or put you in a place where you would see some ice cream or smell something like that, and now you're just triggered and you behave a certain way, and it just creates a whole trajectory. Parasite's plotting for your life as much as you should be plotting. You know what I mean? People should be plotting throughout the day. You know what I mean? People should be kind of plotting like, all right, this is what I can kind of see what is. I can see what I have to work with. So this is my ingredients. I'll do this with it, and I'll go from there once I get to this point. And then once I get here, I can kind of project into the future what I want to do with the energy based on how it feels in my body, because I'm feeling my whole body. But the parasite's like, oh, they don't feel this, so I can operate from this numb area, and then I can just keep nudging them and plotting to get them to move and nudge and nudge and nudge and move until I get them to meet somebody that'll create another body that I can get into. They're gonna make a baby, I can get into that body, and I have even more control. And then 10 generations of that shit is like, now you don't even look like the archetype, like Rothschild. You know what I mean? Like the original Rothschilds was black, man. They were dark skinned, swarthy. They were swarthy people. You know what I mean? Like anybody with the last name Schwartz, they all pale people now, but it means black. You know what I mean? So it's like, or it means dark. It doesn't even really mean black. It means dark. Like people say you have swarthy skin. So like, it's just so far gone from the archetype now. It's like they're in a sunken place. Like,
and who says you can't do that to yourself?
Yeah, it's nothing. Yeah, it's like an autonomous zone. Like this dream is like kind of an autonomous place, like in a sense. Like, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do, man. It's going to be consequences, but you can do whatever the fuck you want to do.
And then it starts to get competitive, and then it's over because then people will be fighting and triggered. They'll be triggered fighting.
Yeah, that's it, man. Like they're already fighting inside themselves, so it's inevitable. It's going to spill over. This dude hit me up the other day. He was like, "Man, I'm having such a bad trip right now." And I was like, "He was like, I can feel the war inside my body." And I was like, "What did you do to prepare for this trip? What the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, obviously you're gonna stumble into war. You know what I mean? Like, or if you kind of gotta acknowledge that it's already a war state. And like Tupac said, man, like don't go to war unless you get your money right. And I feel like, yeah, you gotta get your energy together, man. You gotta get your energy together before you do some shit like that. And yeah, I think people they just don't know, man. Like it's just yeah. it's such a lack of respect that you can only attribute it to them not knowing the value. Like most people, there's no way that you could be disrespectful to this magnitude and really be conscious of anything. You know what I mean? Like in certain respects, the things that people do, you're like, man, you're keeping yourself from knowing so that you can remain disrespectful. So so that
of
you get
the order.
yeah, because you do get like a shred of protection. You know what I mean? In a sense, like if you're truly ignorant, then life is kind of like, all right, well, we're just gonna keep him in that cycle. You know what I mean? He won't never ever graduate to the next thing, and people be like, all right, fine. This cycle comes with the pleasures that I want to live in, and then they live in that cycle like infinitely, man. It's just like any animal that lives in a space, and it's like, I'll never leave this habitat. This is my habitat. Like it's like their habitat for consciousness is this infinite cycle that was just really there to show them themselves, but then they were just like they used it another way to deny themselves.
Well, and if you forget who you are in that cycle, it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it just keeps looping, and then you don't know who anyone else is. Then you just start like robbing from your brother, breeding with your sister or breeding with the enemy, giving to the enemy. I shouldn't say enemy, I should say adversary. The challenge, you know what I mean? I guess in a lot of ways, right? I don't know. The challenger.
Like I don't because I just feel like I'm getting split in my mind, or getting further from reality if I deal with separation and some opposition like an enemy. Though looking at like the historical narratives presented to date, like that shit's very like an offensive on my own soul, it's different things like that to where it's like, okay, there's probably an adversary or like a real enemy here, but it's like how to stay on point with reality the whole time and dealing with it and not get into some delusion that's like the daily grind.
Yeah, it's just crazy because the part of your head, like you're not seeing with your eyes, right? We know that, right? You're seeing with your brain, and the part of your brain that's seeing is in the back of your head. So it's like, man, this whole thing that I'm observing right now is happening in the back of my head.
As a hologram.
So these people I'm seeing are all in the back of my head.
As you in a hologram.
Yeah, it's like the craziest shit when you think about it, man. Like you're really chasing your shadow, you're really fighting your shadow.
It'd be the concept. I feel like the conceptualization process was what people get into the bondage about. Or that's if there's no conceptualization, there's no conceptualizing things. You're not really gonna have to get stuck in this. But it's like if you get attached to ideas and identify as ideas in this world, it's like then you get put into the war zone. It's like a damn chess piece.
If you're really fully present in a dream, then you're actually experiencing life. Like it's an experience. Like you're experiencing a part of the life spectrum or light spectrum. Like you're experiencing that shit. And if you're like awake, or supposedly awake or whatever, and you're like daydreaming, like which is like conceptualizing in a sense, like if it's not concerted, then you're like you're not really in alignment with your body. So it's like you're not in a dream in the body at the same time. So it's like you're not really experiencing either one of them fully. So it's like I think that's what allows people to kind of run into the concept of things. It's just like you're missing out all your dreams, so then you live in the concepts or the daydream as like an automatic compensation for missing all your dreams.
It's a stand-in for reality.
Yeah, it's like you're not fully in the dreams when you go to those. So, you're like still kind of like stuck in this concept of this reality. And then when you come back into this, like not even fully, you're just like partially in this, like you're kind of like a fence sitter, and like you're partially in this reality, and you're just daydreaming, which is just really kind of like the trance of like the dream you missed, and like a visual signal. Like, instead of like experiencing a dream and fully experiencing it firsthand, like this is what I'm supposed to do in 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, a year from now, 2 days from now, whatever. Like really fully experiencing it in the dream. Now you're just like experiencing it conceptually, so it doesn't really click, it doesn't really stick, and then and I think you just live in a dreamlike state. You never really fully embody anything. They say nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream, and I think that's kind of what's going on. Is that people are just not. They're just not fully there, man. They're just partially in a dream, partially here, partially in this dream, partially in that, and then you just get ripped apart at all limbs, and then like Pharaoh was saying, like you basically don't exist because you're so scattered amongst like say if you're Genghis Khan, like whatever archetype he came from was probably some original being that got like adulterated and manipulated, and now it's like separated into 800 million people now, and it's like he basically doesn't exist. Like he exists in like a fungal type way, like a broad sense, but it's like in Terminator 2 when like the liquid Terminator, he couldn't function unless all the liquid metal was together. So it's kind of like you get spread out like that, get spread so thin as an organism. It's like you kind of exist like as much as you're like you're trading like metaphysical power for like physical numbers, physical power, I guess, in a sense, because you're just fragmenting into 800 million people. And it's I guess there's really never any lack in a sense. So it's like it's all still happening concurrently. Like the metaphysical power is just diluted, the physical power is kind of diluted, and then the people got to all work together for you to get anything done. But just like parasites attract other parasites, so just like a tick will have mites on it, or a flea will have mites on it. It's like every parasite, it's like a loop. They eat each other, they get eaten by another one, the next one eats another one, and so I feel like you get the parasite stretches you thin like that, and then now instead of you being the Mongol Empire or the Tartar Empire or whatever Khan was, then you spaced out like a part of Mongolia, Russia, Kazakhstan, Iran, India, China, Iraq a little bit, like all in, really a lot of parts of Europe, Nordic Europe, and now so you got all these borders now, your body, and you're compartmentalized. One strong individual that's like, timeless, and you could just tap into your eternity, and you don't really need all of that manpower to make waves, but
here we are.
Yeah, so much can get lost in it. Yeah. So then like your arm gets used against you, and then your leg gets used against your arm, and then your head gets used against reproductive or whatever. And it's just that's kind of what's going on in the micro and macro view, I feel like. And then you have all these dreams, man, because then you just get infected probably by crossbreeding with all these other people. Now it's like Frankenstein, Frankenstein having dreams that ain't even his dream. You partially all separated, so now you're having dreams of like flashes and being like partly in a dream, and like you're like in somebody else's dream a little bit, and then somebody else is in your dream, and then you're just never fully there, and it's just you need to coagulate. Yeah,
the blob. I've heard of blob consciousness. It really just engulfs anything it comes into contact with, and there's no memories retained, but it's huge. There's people like that. They're just huge hubs, just blobs.
Yeah. People just get so vain, man. They just be like, man, my avatar is so amazing. Let me make some more of them so I can look at them and be pleased with what I've done. It's just such a crazy vanity. Like you have to let it go. Like you have to make small changes. Like with dogs, you can't keep breeding blues with blues and blues and blues and blues and blues. You have to step out every now and again. You know, you have to change it a little bit, so that you can keep going forward. But the core remains the same, but if you keep breeding the same, then it's going to be a loop, and then you're just going to break down because then you don't have that biodiversity. You have all these same chromosomes. So now, if you have any problem with any one of them chromosomes, you're going to have a serious disease. And that's pretty much, I feel like, where we're at. And I feel like that's, probably why we live in this small scale of time now, too. On top of being smaller than we probably used to be, I feel like there's just been so much inbreeding that, if one little defect in the system is like, that's 20 years off your life. Oh, that's 30 years off your life. Now you're going to die at 75 when you could have lived to 150, 160 or something.
And with different, if we had like structures around, we could have lived to be like 900. Or 1,000.
Like Methuselah.
Yeah. I just like these. Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense if it was another realm of genetics involved, but then there's totally different things about like certain sciences that could like survive through thousands of years that you could preserve as like an art, like certain esoteric arts. Things like that is totally real. Like there were probably, these people they would live to be that old.
But if you have those genetics now, you're not in this pool. You're not going to share what you got with this pool and tie your consciousness to this and go through the fucking meat grinder, shredder, blob. You're not. Why would you bring your traits into this? Because it's like, I'm just going to lose myself. It's
not like war.
Yeah.
Some war reason.
I think you got to really be prepared to die. Like in certain circumstances, like death is not the worst thing than like constantly being enslaved in an infinite loop. I feel like you got to be like, well, I'll just pass on. I'll let this body go because you're not going to get my seeds and control my consciousness's trajectory for untold time.
Yeah, at that point, death is the savior.
Yeah. Like that must have been like how the Seminoles felt, or the Lenape or the Algonquins when they was fighting. It's probably like, well, I mean, death is actually better than being subjugated or being bred out. So,
yep.
At least I have myself, and like I might not be able to reincarnate for 600 years because the environment's too shitty for me to do that, but I'll be back. You know what I mean? And then
right on time.
Yeah, but then I'd be wondering too, like, you die. I want to ask Pharaoh this. Like, if you get killed unconsciously, then if you knew you was going to die, maybe you could prepare a certain way. But if you just got killed unconsciously, like, would you reincarnate? Would you reincarnate back in like a ley line zone unconsciously and be like a parasite version of yourself and just be not fully yourself and like maybe on the inside the core is yourself, outside is like something else. And
yeah, it's whatever of the times, whatever's on the surface.
Yeah, like so you really have to like they must have people that died like that was gonna go to battle, they must have prepared, like, all right, we probably gonna die. I can see where the trajectory is going. So at least let's do it with some valor, I guess. And so we have some continuity of ourselves so that when we do transition, they don't hold me here and I don't have to come back at an improper time.
All out of order. It seems like it's just recollecting and just getting things arranged cosmically so you could like keep persisting in eternity, regardless of whatever happens. Like it's just you're always gonna like reform.
Yeah. No, I think it's just gonna. You can't. It's kind of like magnetic. Like you're gonna kind of come back to self, and it's just like the parasite wants to get up in the flow of things, so that I guess when you start to coagulate back, then it's part of the sauce. It's part of the recipe, but. There's probably just errors where the parasite really can't, they really just can't inhabit it because iron can't mix with clay forever.
Seeing this, it's just wild seeing like we've even talked about this past like hour. It's this remembering process. What are you saying?
No, saying like fungus. Like if you got like every disease is kind of a blood disease in a sense, but like fungally, like, and then since it's a blood disease, it's really a bone disease because you're getting the blood's getting regenerated in the marrow, so it's kind of like a bone thing. At the same time of being like they say, bone deep. So like I feel like people that have fungal issues or whatever it is, supposedly hereditary issues, it's like it really is like this other creature that has just grafted itself to the line and it's just jumping from host to host. And I guess some people just have made deals with it, or they just don't know it's there. I don't know. Some people just like are looking at it like, all right, well, I'm just gonna have to work with what I got. But I think for the most part, people don't really understand like, what certain symptoms even mean. Like it really is like another creature that like if you could take a picture that was like a picture of like whole spectrum, like you're just sitting there like say cheese, you take a picture of a person and you can see the true them and then whatever else they're harboring, it probably would look so crazy, yo. This other like fucking parasitic worm, you know what I mean? Like it all like wrapped around some area within the being, and like or it's just like a driver's seat, and two people trying to sit on it. One's like an angelic being or a divine being, and one is just like a fucking corrosive ass parasite, and like
they be intertwined.
Yeah, like, and then to the point where I guess they become fused.
And then you got the daemon. That's got your daemon right there.
Like it's got to be some fusion there, like happening because people really think that what they're thinking is them, So it's got to be like some type of fusion, some type of quantum fusion happening, like where people just in psychosis, they're in the hypnosis of the cycles. You go around the fucking merry-go-round enough times, you get dizzy, man.
That's fucking hilarious. Dude, if fungus is the oldest matter form too, then you got like fungal beings. It's like a fungal intelligence. It can jump from body to body in like a quantum sense, maybe even across planets and shit like that.
And they just go into the darkest parts of you, the parts that aren't getting light, and then they just grow from there.
Ceaselessly. That's wild. Across, it is just it's like this eternal sense. And I don't know if you got a time limit too. I hear beeping, but
no, I don't know. If you want to wrap it up, we can. I don't know if you want to add anything else you wanted to say.
Yeah, no, an hour is solid. It's just with all these things, it's just this huge remembering process that's going on. Like that's kind of like the main thing I wanted to cover is just like how to adjust to this reset. What does that mean? And so it's kind of like getting my hands on as much of this context of how we were broken. We're dealing with like broken images to like get the clear picture. So I feel like the picture's coming in. It's getting more clear throughout these conversations.
yeah, like the dreams, man. Our dreams is really like our best in, like because if you if you get in touch with your dreams so that you can get insight to where you see where you're going and you can kind of prepare better and you can amplify whatever's already going to happen for you and make it even better, or just get in touch because like this shit's gonna be, and I'm gonna my hard drive's gonna get wiped, so I'm just trying to transition all this data into another hard drive, which is like another dream, and then I can just sail on out of here through that, and then create another timeline, that I created for myself, and do that. I feel like that's the thing, man. It's really been helping me to just focus on etymology and read older languages. Like every day, I'm doing like at least hour or 2 hours a day of just like reading and doing etymology, and it's really helped me out a lot. Like as far as my dreams, and then I'll be waking up in the middle of the night, like having to write down like a whole paragraph of shit. I need to get one of them pens that got a light on them. I'll be writing in the middle of the dark. I think maybe that's a good investment. Maybe one of them pens that got lights on them when you push down on it.
The light pen, or just man, it's crazy because with that light, with the LED, mess up your memory, your recall. Like if it's pitch black,
that's why it might. That's the thing. I don't know. That's why I haven't got it. I don't really know. I just yeah, in the dark and like taking up way more paper than I would because I can't really tell.
You just like, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm writing at, but I know. All I gotta do, if you remember, like just a few words to describe what you went through, you'll recall the whole stream of dreams.
Yeah, it really be like that. It's like a trigger word. It just activates like an entire.
Yeah, you just be like, oh, trampoline. Oh, that's right. Trampoline. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, the word amplification is crazy because getting in touch with the dreams and getting in touch with the breath being the same thing. Like I can feel it every time. I'm just amplifying the experience I was already having. Like that's just what's going on with breathing, and so getting closer to the dream is through that.
The course is set, kind of in a lot of ways.
And so you just keep improving on it. At your will.
Yes, you can see it clearly, and you can not ignore it because it's like you're gonna take the breaths that you're gonna take. You've been in a lot of these breaths and these steps, and you're going in these certain directions. So you might as well just know where you're going, so that it's not a fight, and that you can get there in one piece. You don't get to you get to the end of the road, and you ain't got no teeth in your head. You can't see, you can't hear. And, who knows how long you've not been able to see and hear. And so it's just, you just want to do it as much in one piece as you can, really. It's kind of it at this point. Like, I don't want to say it's damage control, but it is damage control in a cool sense. Controlling the damage.
Well, and getting it back, putting everything back in order. Like, with the experience, to move on from there, that's like a huge shift. That's a huge shift in being oriented with the whole like seeing everything in this proper place. Like there's virtually no need to rush whatsoever.
Yeah, it's against your nature, and you just got to really just get more in touch with your nature, man. We've gotten pretty far away from it, and people get away from their nature. It's like, oh, you're being hard, doing things hard. Oh, here you go. Here goes some reinforcement for this. And people just keep going with that. And it's like they just keep finding better ways to do the wrong things. And we're just getting further and further into delusion.
And get jaded there.
Yeah.
And then like, I feel like all the bondage is in the body at that point. Like, even after they die, like, is it till something happens to their body to where it like reintegrates into the structure that they can pass on because all that bondage was in the body, Does that make sense?
Shit, man. I really, yeah. I mean, it does. I just don't know. You know what I mean? I really don't know. Like, vanity
Like,
seems to carry over.
man,
You know what I mean? It's just like it's like a sickness.
man, there's like a vaccine for that. I feel like it's the presence, like the vaccine for this.
Yeah. There's nothing else that can help us, man. Really, really not.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good place. That's a good place to be for eternity.
All right. Yeah, you gotta feel the heal, man, and then you can kind of go from there. But people still not trying to feel shit, then you got a long way to go.
What is it? It's sensitivity to spiritual information. That's like that's like a knob on people's body. Like some people really do be like mad sensitive to spiritual info. And they can't feel it. Doesn't affect them. Can't perceive it.
Yeah, it's so crazy because like if you know people just get satisfied with strength over power, which is kind of just like just cheap, man. It's just like strength is like cheap power in a lot of ways. Like as far as like I know I'm getting a signal, but I could just bypass the signal or whatever it is. You know, it's just people are flattered by that, like the ability to drink a fifth of Hennessy or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, man, you know, it's almost like we're in like the ignorant Olympics. and it's probably where we're at. You know what I mean?
That's scary, bro.
Yeah.
That's the rap game.
Yeah, man, people like everybody's pretty much bragging about how much they suffer, and it's like, so this is what you're supposed to be bragging about? It's just, all right.
It's like, what else can you do when you suffered so much? It's like you suffered. Like that's it becomes your livelihood at a certain point. That's crazy.
Yeah, people, the times when they wasn't suffering or they suffered less, they don't ever want to go back to that place because that place feels so vulnerable.
It'll be these traumas up.
It's like if I know I'm suffering, somehow I'm okay. Like what? Like if I know that I'm gonna suffer, then I know what's coming. You know, when you're a kid, you'd be like, before the suffering really gets bad, you'd be kind of like, I don't know what today's gonna bring, and you kind of not in that suffering state. But you know, you get older, you start to know everything, and then you project that shit. You know, and then just make it reality. It's still never reality though.
Man. Man. I'm seeing these things. It's crazy. Yeah, that's probably a nice place. It's a nice place to wrap it up. I'm literally out here in Hollywood. Got to get this next destination.
All right, then, man. Yeah, I guess thank you to the patrons, and if you're listening on YouTube, yeah, thank you for listening, man. Check out the description for the books, I guess, and then look for the Feral podcast. It's probably gonna be on Instagram because then that's the only thing that I can go live on up here.
Okay, and that'll be okay. It's on IG. You're not gonna try. You should try going live on YouTube.
I've tried. It's just not. It never stays stable. I get like 10 minutes and it cuts out. So I gotta you know, just use Instagram and then download it and then throw it on the YouTube.
Okay, well, we'll make it happen. And yeah, just deep appreciation to everybody listening. I feel like these are really useful conversations. So just blessings on everything. And yeah, I'll catch you on the flip side, Taylor.
All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, man. Trust. Likewise.
All right, bro. Yes, sir.
All right.